We will firstly hear from Ben, who is co-founder of the ETH spin-off ZHAW AG. And ZHAW is a start or sports tech startup, which has already been quite successful. We have won many awards like the Top 100 Swiss Award or the Kickstart Award. So it's been quite of a success story. And we already know what happened to ZHAW and where it is today, but I think it's really interesting to hear for our participants what has happened, where you are with ZHAW, and just what your entrepreneurial journey was. So Ben, without any further ado, thank you so much for being here, and the stage is yours.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Big pleasure being here. As already introduced, Ben Simon. Simon is my last name. 27 years old, grew up here in Zurich, live here in Zurich, still studied business administration at the University of St. Gallen. And yeah, then during my master's started to look into entrepreneurship more as of a coincidence. I was at the time during my master's working at Ernst & Young. Previously, I gathered some experience within UPS, but then fall in love with the idea of actually doing something that changes the world a little bit for the better. And then met my amazing co-founder. I lived in the same apartment. Can you see my screen? I don't think that's right at the moment.
We see it in a presentation, yeah.
Which sucks. I will do it again. So, now, here we go. Cool. Okay. So I got to know my co-founder as we lived in the same house, not in the same apartment. So the story is, I think, weird, but beautiful in a way. I was not depressed, but not super happy with my job at EY. It was summer. I had my suit on. I came home at 10 o'clock-ish in the night. There at the in the entrance to get my post out of the Briefkasten, just my daily post, and then met Joel, my co-founder there, and he asked me why I look so depressed, so bad, and if I wanted to have a new job, and I answered with yes, and there the whole story started. That was 2.5 years ago. Summer 2019. They started already with a project. Joel did his master's at ETH and got in touch with this amazing, cool technology that understands human motion. And then I discontinued my job at Ernst & Young, got in full-time in Way, and then we skyrocketed. So here, just for context, I think it's important that you understand what we do. This is just a showcase, looks shitty, but you see this is in the web browser. Our technology is able to track movements, analyze, and post, and give you feedback. And this technology is now being integrated in basically everywhere. But the biggest gym equipment manufacturers are using this technology now already. And this helps you to do fitness at home. You can imagine Freeletics, for example, or whatever equipment you have at home with a camera is able to track your movements, and then you can use that data to give you feedback, but also track, or imagine also physiotherapy. You normally don't do it, even though you should do it. And now the physiotherapist, or in the future, understands what you've done, how you've done it, and is able to coach you much, much better. So quite a techy topic. I I'm not the tech guy, I'm the business guy. We only have 2 business guys now in our team. Very briefly, okay. So we are a team of 18 at the moment now, scaling it up to 20 people this year. Still, we are a software company only, so we offer software to other companies and they integrate it in their app, website, whatever. We started in 2018, and that was a normal fitness app that didn't work so well, and no traction. Of course, in Switzerland, it's also super hard. But then still incorporated Swiss AG, Aktiengesellschaft, stock company here in Zurich in 2019. Invested some of our own money, got a loan from our parents to do that. And then the year after, we raised some money, a little bit over $1 million. And this year now, we sold it to one of the biggest gym equipment manufacturers, Nautilus, but we also got offers from basically every other company in the field, also from the therapeutics, so from the healthcare side. And now, really, please afterwards ask any question, also personal questions. I think it's about this. And what I want to highlight here is really just the differences between so-called normal job and a startup job if you are a founder or also work early on in a startup. And this is really just a personal experience. It's different probably for everybody. Everybody is different anyway, but I made the experience that within EY, you have already very clear structures. You have a boss who knows exactly how everything should be done. He tells you, you learn that, you learn the processes, and then you do it. Of course, you get better. You get to know those structures. You make a decent salary, I would say, or a very good salary, I must say, here in Switzerland, especially if you go into those industries. You certainly have forever enough if you work in such a job. You don't have to hunger. But yeah, there's some maybes which I think are super relevant. It's not only about the money and what you do, but really about learning things, about growing, about actually being happy with what you do and passionate about it. And yes, you have vacation, you have not so hard working hours. You can shut down after work and think about whatever, the football game that's on tonight. Not sure if there is one. But in a startup, you do everything versus you have clear tasks and do very specific things in consulting or in any job, basically. But you, as a founder, you're responsible for everything. And there are many aspects. Optimal case, you have co-founder, which has a different skill set than you, and then you can split tasks. But you have to create a product, of course. You have to care about marketing. How can you bring it to the customers? How will you do the pricing? How can you sell it? Then when you grow, you have to find people that help you. That's hiring. So HR, then you have to get in touch with people. How do you do that? We did it often via LinkedIn. You have to care about finances, legal topics a lot. Especially in the beginning, you don't make money. Maybe you make money, but that's your own money that you invested with your co-founder in the company to incorporate, which is good because you're super interested to get forward, to hustle. But really the highlights here is, and I hope I bring this over a little bit, it's fun. Before it was a job, just a job, and I never had to work. I always loved what I do. I always had the feeling that I have to do something. I was every minute with passion in what I did, constantly stressed out, but that's kind of also in my blood. And we had, we were very clear about where we want to go and where we want to take this technology. Your work weeks look different, so be aware of this, but it's not like you have to put in 40 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours, but it's just like you do it because you want. Also, you don't go on so much vacation, or at least I didn't, but also because I didn't have the need really for this, or I didn't think I would have the need. And there was also just not the space for it. What I can promise is you learn, I mean, in consulting, you learn a lot as well, especially in the beginning. But as an entrepreneur, you learn, I've never learned so much in my life, also for sure not during my studies. You grow as a person because you have to do things and learn. When you do your taxes for the first time, you also learn that. You learn about so many aspects of a business that you didn't even think about before. Of course, you will lead as soon as you add new members to your team. You have to lead. Also, even if you're not a leader by your character, you will learn to lead. I think that's the best part of being an entrepreneur. Like, you talk to so many interesting people, actually cool people, passionate people, not just other co-founders, but like we work together with insurance companies, and there we had only basically, we were in touch with or are still in touch with the C-level executives. Otherwise, probably you wouldn't get in touch so early on in your career with people like that, where you can learn a lot again. And yeah, so there are some downsides, like you think about work constantly, but if you like what you do and if you're super passionate about this, I think that's a good thing. And in theory, you would have flexibility. Nobody's telling you what to do or when to show up for work, but yeah, you have to because you want to. And maybe I think you all care about entrepreneurship and you're here for a reason. You've maybe seen that on whatever, Instagram, Facebook, maybe just in the media. And probably when you're not yet in this, you cannot, maybe you think, okay, that's just a nice graphic, but I promise you it's exactly like this. Maybe it's not a day, but more like a month or a year for sure, but also sometimes a day. Just your happiness, very subjectively, is really dependent, or at least in my case, was really dependent on how the business is going. So when the business went well, I was the happiest person alive. And then when we fucked up a year ago around funding round, and we were basically there completely without money, we had a team that had a salary that we had to pay the salary next month, and we didn't know how. There, of course, that was the state. I think I'm going bankrupt, or we were sure, but we managed anyway. So that's exactly what it's like, but it's going up, and it's a good thing, because for me, life is not, if you're always comfortable with what you have, and you're always good, yeah, you get used to this, and it's not that interesting. So for me, a life has to have some up and downs. That's what makes it interesting. And it's not for every, it's not for, maybe if you have kids and you're 40 years old or 35 and you have big responsibilities, maybe it's not the best thing of maybe going bankrupt. But when you're 25, 26, you don't have so many responsibilities, I would try it. It's okay to think you're going bankrupt and then still figure out a solution to not go bankrupt. So very briefly, I think maybe already over time, I don't know, just some very high level takeaways when you're just about to start. team is the most important thing. I was lucky with the team we had, but we also made some mistakes. Some team members had to go because it didn't work. One co-founder left the company because his interest changed. So really invest in the team and know from the beginning that, or try to know as good as possible that it will work out with your co-founders. Then you don't have to know everything. Yes, you can read books, but really get somebody who has done this recently. We got Alex Illich, kind of famous entrepreneur, I would say, in Switzerland. And he has done this. He had his exit, I think, 5 years ago. So he knew exactly 2 years ago when we onboarded him how it works, everything. And this person then can help you a ton, and you don't make all the mistakes, at least. It's about work. I'm a super disciplined person. I put in the work, and then eventually it will work. That's at least what I believe in. Believe in yourself. You have to be proud of what you do. You have to talk about it. You have to talk a lot about it with your family, with your friends, with your environments, to also make them excited about it. And for sure, don't do it for the money. You can look at it as an overnight success if there's an early exit for a company, but believe me, there is hard work going in there, and so many companies and very good entrepreneurs don't get to that milestone. So do it for the right reason. It should be you. It should be what you want to do, not for the money. But yeah, when you have the success, and I think in the long term, if you do it and you have the freedom to do it, the money can be good. So thank you. I hope that was not too much. If you need more context, please get in touch via LinkedIn, I suggest. And then I can tell you some more. Please ask me anything afterwards in the Q&A, and you're here at the right spot. Hang in there.
Thank you, Ben. I think especially at the end, it was so hands-on. I think those were some really good key learnings for everybody. And I already saw that there are many questions in the chat. Thank you so much. Like I said before, we will do a joint Q&A after the next keynote speech. So if you already have questions for Ben, just write them down, remember them, so we can ask them in the joint Q&A afterwards. So now we will move to our second keynote speech by Céline. Céline has not only been listed in the 30 under 30 list from Forbes last year, but she already found a startup, Casus, which is a legal tech startup. But today you are here to talk about Period One, which is your second startup. And I would say the name is Program. But I don't want to steal much of your time, Céline. So thank you so much for being here. We are very excited to hear your journey, and enjoy.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. So I'm really excited to be here. I'd like to start with a personal anecdote here. I sat exactly where you sat 5 years ago, because I attended exactly this event 5 years ago. Of course, it was offline in these times. So in those times and in these times, we meet online. So I was really inspired by the founders which were speaking then during that event. And I think I remember correctly that it was actually for me the first time that I thought about being an entrepreneur myself. It was kind of the first time when I got into being a founder and thought about, okay, that could be something which I would like to do in my future. So here I am today speaking to you. So that's very special to me in only 5 years. So today I would like to share with you 5 slides with 5 insights into my startup journey so far. So let's start from the beginning. How do you actually start a business and how do you find a business idea? For me personally, it matters a lot that solving your own problem might help others too. So in my case, I was suffering from severe menstrual cramps for many years, and I couldn't find any natural remedy on the market. So I just developed my own cosmetic formulas. I read a lot of books, I read online resources, and it worked for me, these new cosmetic products. And I was talking about them with my friends, and friends of mine told it to other friends. And so kind of the little community around period was growing and everyone wanted to buy the product. So in the end, I initiated an online shop, and this is how Period was born. So I think if it's your own problem, you especially care about it, you know your customers best, and you're especially motivated. So maybe that might be a good starting point for your own startup. Additionally, I'd like to quote Tina Roth-Eisenberg here. She's a Swiss designer and currently living in New York. And she says the best way to complain is to make things. So I strongly believe that whenever you complain by doing something, you actually have the chance to change the world and to bringing some changes. At Period, for example, in my case, I complained about menstrual cramps, about all the problems which a lot of women have during their periods, and also about the whole taboo around periods. So I then created a brand which develops natural painkillers and more innovative products. And it also fosters and gives a platform with an open discussion about periods and cycle and menstruation. So really ask yourself, what would you like to complain about, and how could you then really create something out of that complaining? And this then also leads into your why. So I think the why in every business and in your whole life is really important. So Simon Sinek says, always start with why. So people don't buy what you do, but they buy why you do it. So the whole storytelling around it, your vision, your goals, your values behind what you're doing. So really ask yourself, why am I doing? Why am I planning this startup or this project or whatever it might be in your life? Co-founding a startup is like marriage. That's really true. And having to break up with your co-founder really hurts like a divorce. I had one with my previous co-founder, so that was a really difficult decision. So if you're looking at co-founders, it's so important to talk about your vision and all your values at the very beginning. So I strongly believe that the core values is the one thing which brings you together and brings you through all ups and downs, but it can also drive you apart in the long term if they are not aligned as much as they should be. So having a really strong foundation is so crucial. So what I suggest is that you talk about everything at the very beginning. Some questions might be, what is your vision of your startup? What is your understanding of leadership and hierarchy? Where do you see yourself personally, but also you and the whole team of the company, of the startup, let's say in 5 years, for example? Do you want external investors like we did it with our first startup, or rather stay independent and bootstrap the company like I'm doing it currently? Or do you plan to do an exit if you have investors? Or would you like to keep the company for multiple years and really build it up over multiple years? And don't worry if you don't really know all the answers to these questions. I think these are so like really big questions which you can also think about over multiple months, or it might also develop over multiple years. I think it's really important that you keep on shaping and discussing these questions together with your co-founders. Founding a startup is all about leadership, in my view. So first you lead yourself, and that's actually the most important leadership in your whole life. So really leading yourself and your thoughts. Later on, maybe you lead your team members, depending on your growth within the startup. And overall, about leadership, I can really recommend you the book 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And I've listed here 3 different commitments which are mentioned in this book. And one of them is stay true to yourself. So really commit to saying what is true for yourself, because only then you can be authentic, and you can also be authentic towards your co-founders and your employees. And this also opens up a room for communication and being authentic for other people which surround you. And you might ask yourself, okay, how do I actually do it? So how do I know what's true for me, or how do I know what I want in my life within the startup, and so on? And there I'd say that it's not only important that you listen to your brain, but also to your gut feeling and your heart. So me personally, as a person with quite a long academic background where I trained a lot my brain, I was kind of taking decision a lot with my brain and having logical reasons for it. But I think as soon as you're in a startup and everything is so uncertain, there's no right or wrong anymore. So the brain is important, but I think the gut feeling and your heart is equally important as well. The second one, be curious. That's very important to me personally, because my path wasn't straightforward at all so far. I actually started my career being a model in Milan and in Zurich. And then after 2 years, I came back to Switzerland and I started studying law at the University of Zurich. To be honest, I got quite bored after about half a year. I then decided to additionally study economics and computer science, and did the master's and bachelor's in all three studies. And then I founded Casus together with my co-founder, and then the Casus was a legal tech startup, which we co-founded in 2019. And over these couple of years, we just saw that my co-founder and I weren't a perfect team in the long term. So I then decided to leave Casus and started a new project, which is called Period this year. So that's now again a completely new field, right? So I had no background in cosmetics or plant medicine or whatsoever, but I was just really curious and I wanted to learn more about this field because it also was a personal issue which I had. So I just would like to tell you that you don't have to do the same thing over your whole life, right? So if you're really curious and you are open towards other kind of topics or people, you will find something which really inspires you. The third commitment is play and rest. So I find it really important that life should bring you joy and ease as well. So it's not everything about working all the time. So you shouldn't force it, but everything which you're doing should also have a little bit of playfulness in it. And it's also so important to maximize your energy by honoring rest. So as Ben mentioned as well, so founding a startup really needs a lot of time and energy from yourself, and you're also willing to give that into it because it's your baby. But if you don't honor your rest and your own balance, you won't be able to run it in the long term. And similarly, I personally say that hard work is not everything. So I'm a person who's really willing to work hard, but you shouldn't force it too much. So I think you also have to trust the timing of your life. At the beginning, I didn't know what to do with all my studies, for example, but now I can really use all my different studies within my business currently. And I didn't know what to do after Casus, but then I can now work in a new field, which really inspires me. So sometimes you really have to trust the timing of your life and you cannot figure it out instantly. You really need a little bit of patience. So in my last slide, I would like to get back to the beginning, actually. So what is the very first step to becoming a founder? And similar to what Ben said, I'd say courage over comfort. So you really have to get out of your comfort zone at the very beginning. You have to make that step, and this needs a lot of courage. Because as soon as you're leading a startup or founding a startup, everything is uncertain, right? You don't know how it will turn out and whether it will turn out. So currently I'm bootstrapping the company, so I'm investing my own savings, and I don't know whether it will work out financially. I don't know whether my young company will be successful in the long term. And for some of you, this might seem like a big dark black hole, you know, like there's a lot of uncertainty in there and no security at all. And you may think, okay, this is too risky and it's not worth it. And as Ben said, it's not for everyone. But I personally, I see it like a bright white canvas. So if you look at it from a different perspective, it's just a place where you can do whatever you want. It's kind of the other side of uncertainty is pure freedom, because it's your own choice how you would like to shape your startup. You can really draw the future on that canvas. And this freedom is really priceless to me. So I'm happy to live with a couple of uncertain days or weeks or even months. Yeah, in return, I get a lot of freedom. So this is really the perspective which I have in my life. So life is just a bright white canvas. And if you would like to have it as well, so the only thing which you have to do is just jump. So the colors will come into your life and you'll learn a lot. So in my perspective, it's really worth the courage. And I'd like to encourage especially women in the audience, because we still have only around 20% of female founders and co-founders. And in the tech area, it's even less, it's around 10%. So if you fancy to build a startup and to start something, please do it, try it, give it a try, just jump. And I'd like also to support you there. So if you have any questions or doubts, please contact me. And this, of course, also applies to all men among you and everyone else.